this is my husband, Jim. I'm a passionate sewer. We also have a long arm business, but I think I probably should tell you a little bit about myself and who I am and how I got started in all this. Where's my notes? Alright. So I guess a little bit about my story. I'm a farm girl. I grew up on a dairy farm with my parents. I was in a childhood accident when I was barely 3 years old. I'm an amputee. I lost my left arm and partial of my right foot. What else? I didn't really have anybody to really influence me in my quilting and sewing and things like that. My grandmother at a young age taught me how to thread a needle and do basic hand sewing. So there was no quilters in my family. Everything I've learned, I think, was pretty much self-taught, although I took home ec in 7th grade, and Ellen Moon, you probably don't know how much you inspired me and planted a seed in me, because she was my home ec teacher in 7th grade, and I remember I made a shirt. It was like a hoodie, and she helped me a lot in making that at that time, and we had a little fashion show at the school, and that was just really fun and a very fond memory of mine, so thank you for that. Growing up, I did a little hand sewing to modify pants and clothes because I grew up in a family of 6 and we didn't have a whole lot. We were kind of poor. So I kind of modified my own pants and things growing up. I mean, not that I'm a good hand sewer at all. I had horses growing up, so I've always been like an avid horseback rider, although I haven't had a horse in many years. But I started working at age 17 in a factory. I've had a pretty rough road, I think. But I think when I what's my date on there? 2008. Yes, 2008. I bought a Singer simple sewing machine, and I wanted to sew. I didn't really know where to start or begin or anything like that. So coming from my grandmother, she inspired me. She used to braid rag rugs, and then she would hand sew them together. Well, I can't really braid and hand sew. I'm not really good at that. So I learned how to crochet from a woman that was a friend of mine when I was working out in Kansas in 2008, I guess it was, and she would sit and talk to me in crochet, and I was like, teach me how to do that. And she's like, I don't know if I can teach you, but I can show you. So she showed me, and of course, I had a really rough go at it to get started, figuring out how to hold the yarn and all that, and I had people that would try to sit down and help me and hold the yarn, and finally I was like, leave me alone, I'll figure it out. So after everybody would leave to go hunting, I would sit down with my little crochet hook, and I used my knees, and I learned how to crochet. So I started off sewing strips of fabric together, and I started crocheting rag rugs. This started my sewing journey, so this one's an unfinished one. I do more sewing now than I do crocheting. So,
and she's got a lot of UFOs.
Bad. I have so much things in my head I can't get it all out. My first quilt I made, I think that was, I'm not sure what year that was. I think it was 2009 maybe, I'm not sure. My first quilt was a scrappy crazy quilt, I guess, and I cut it into blocks of squares and I put sashing around it, and I ended up when I made the blocks, my mom's cousin, I was showing them to her, and she loved it. She's like, when you get that quilt done, she said, I want to buy it from you. And I'm like, well, I'm just beginning, I don't care. She said, I collect quilts. So needless to say, I finished my first quilt, and I wish I had a picture of it, but I don't. But I ended up selling it to her for $100, and I didn't even think I was that good, but it was pretty. The second quilt top that I made actually is this one. And I'm kind of surprised at my old self for how good I did, because I was still a beginner. I had one sewing machine, and I sewed at a dining room table. I had a rotary mat, a rotary cutter, and one clear ruler. And this is a log cabin quilt top that was made out of 1-inch strips, and it is a 4-patch center. And it is a combination of lights and darks to give it effect. And I had just pulled this out of my stash of unfinished projects here maybe a couple of weeks ago, and the rows, it was 3 rows, so I sewed them together and I hung it up, and I'm like, I really need to quilt this. This is really special, and I'm amazed at how well I did, and I've hauled it around for years, probably 10 plus years, and it even smells like Grandma's attic. Okay. I had a long, hard road. Yeah, 2013, I left a 2013, I left an 18-year relationship with a man that I lived with for many years, and we decided to part ways. And I moved to a little trailer in Lawrenceville, and I had no furniture. I had a bedroom set, a TV, and a TV stand, and a coffee table. And it was pretty rough go. And my mom showed up one day, and she brought her friends with her, and I was a little upset with her for bringing those friends because I was feeling kind of down, and I didn't have any furniture, and I was starting off, and she came in with her friends, and they brought me in 2 end stands and a desk so I could sew. So from there, I kind of restarted myself with that little desk. I mean, when they brought it into me, I cried because I was, didn't have much, so it was kind of rough. So so I started to sew my life back together basically with a purpose. And from there, I ended up moving to Corning for a few months, and then I decided to go to the Outer Banks, and I lived down there for a year, and I roommated with a girl, and decided that wasn't for me because it was a very hard place to get ahead, and I just couldn't make it, I guess. I mean, it was a vacation destination. People would come down there for vacation, and in the wintertime, everything shuts down, so when you make all your money in the summer, you have to live off your money, what you made for the winter, and I just didn't want to do it. So I moved back to Corning, got a place, and that's how I met Jim.
I'm Jim.
My neighbor that I was set up with by my landlords, and it was.
We were both set up.
We didn't know it. It was a crazy thing, and we became pretty fast friends after we met, and so.
She likes me because I look like a schnauzer. And she loves schnauzers.
Yeah, I have schnauzers. So, we started dating, and eventually we moved in together, and the next quilt that I decided to make, well, actually I started this as we were dating, and this is one of my favorite quilts. This is a quilt that I call Perfectly Imperfect.
Here, I can't. These are.
Okay, stand back.
This is the first quilt that I finished that I made for myself, and it's probably one of my favorites. It sits in the end of my bed, but this is all scraps made from 2 by 3 inch squares, and I put them into blocks, and I sashed it, and of course I put this chenille stuff around it that makes it look fuzzy. This I quilted on my home machine and maneuvered it around to quilt around each block. It is perfectly imperfect, but it was one of the first quilts that I actually finished for myself. On to the next thing. Where am I going here?
It was shortly after that quilt that we got the mid-arm.
When I moved in with Jim, I had a little tiny sewing room that
10 by 10.
he made for me, and believe me, we had that thing crammed. I had my Janome sewing machine, and I ended up getting a brother sewing machine, and I used that thing. I used it up and wore it out. But we ended up buying a midi arm quilting machine from a friend of a friend, actually. But we couldn't set it all the way up into our little tiny space, so we only set it up halfway.
Yeah, there's a
It was a Janome
16 or
1600p or
something like that.
Yeah.
But it was a Graco frame, so you could cut it in half. So we only put up half of the frame, so we could quilt quilts that were yay wide.
I didn't bring up a quilt, but we quilted on that. But
No, because it was ugly.
it was hard because I was how you quilt on a quilter, and he was helping me get get the quilts loaded and everything, and I said, do like a meander on it, you know, because we didn't really know much. We were just starting out, and
So this guy's a metal worker and woodworker. There's no such thing as meandering in this.
it looks like a puzzle, you know, like little loops and curves and things. And he had a pot holder that one of your aunts made, and I went and showed it to him. And I was like, this is what I mean. So he kind of got the hang of moving that thing around. I was kind of intimidated by it, but we did do some quilting on it and some end covers and table runners and different things. And then I think it was 2019, we bought our farmhouse. And we bought this big old farmhouse in Lindley, and the first time we went and looked at it, we're looking at all the rooms, and we walked into this big, huge room, and I'm just kind of taking it in, and Jim's like, I don't know, honey, but this looks like a sewing room. And I think my eyes probably fell out of my head, thinking, oh my God, so I got this vision of all these, you know, we could put our long arm in there and everything and set up. So I had my desk, and we set up the long arm in there, and we started, you know, doing some long arming. And I made a quilt for an old friend. It was in California, and he wanted me to make him a quilt in red and blue. So I didn't have anywhere to go with it, so I just started sewing. And I sewed him a pretty amazing red and blue quilt, and I put a lot of the states and traveling things in it, and I started calling it the traveling quilt, because I figured it was traveling all the way from New York to California. So we quilted that on that machine with a few hiccups. And then my niece's oldest daughter was graduating from school, and I had made this really cool bicycle quilt that had some stars, and I seen it in the magazine, and I created it, and it looked great, and I wanted to get it quilted so I could give it to her at her graduation. So we started quilting that, and every row that we quilted, and then the next row Jim would
I tore out more stitches than we put into it.
Yeah, it was kind of a nightmare. It was nesting, and
I got so frustrated with them. And when Jim gets frustrated, people make money. That's all there is to it. So I got super frustrated. I looked at Marnie and I said, this machine's out of here this weekend. I don't care if we throw it away or you sell it, but it's gone.
yeah, we put it on Marketplace and sold it to a couple in State College. And I was like, it needs service, and we explained to them what it was doing. I was like, if you want it, it's yours, you know. So we ended up selling it, and we bought a Gamble fully automated Elevate machine. And believe me, I was excited. This, you know, to have something. Of course, when we
show them your Gamble happy dance.
Oh, I was like ecstatic. I mean, we waited up like, I don't know how long was it, 2 months for delivery day.
I think it was three months or something like that.
So yeah, it was some, yeah, when they finally delivered it in June. And of course, my sewing room is upstairs, and when you come up the stairs, it's a right angle into our room. So we couldn't get it up the stairs. So he went and got a lift, and they had to bring it up through the window of the room to get it in there. And believe me, it takes up one whole end of the room. But thankfully, we have this big room to do it in. So yeah, so the first quilt that I actually quilted on it is this one that I had made. So I was so excited. And Jim, being the techie one that he is, he taught me how to use it. So I learned to do the blocks one at a time and did the sashing in the middle, and I thought that was really easy. So he usually programs it, and I run it. So from there, oh my gosh, we created a lot.
Show them what you got here.
Okay. So this one here is the first quilt that I had professionally quilted. This was before we got the Gamble. This quilt, when I was still living at my old house, Jim's mom, who always told me she was allergic to a sewing machine, didn't want to sew. But I had gotten her to make a quilt with me. I said, just make a quilt with me. And I showed her how to make these blocks with this simple star. And she did hers in a black and orange, and I did mine in these colors. And then all of our cutoffs, we ended up putting them into pinwheels, and I just put mine all the way around the quilt. And she made her first quilt with me, and now she's obsessed. She brings a lot of her quilts to us, and she quilts them. And she's learning how to run the quilting machine as well, so she can do her own quilts. But so I was really happy to inspire her. Let's go on to this one. Yeah. I think I like stars. So this is just a scrappy one that I did, and it was a jelly roll, and some of the stars was Some of them are bigger. This one's slightly smaller, and then this one's bigger. But this one's just a fun one that I threw together. The next one we can show one of those. I made this one for my sister for 2021 Christmas. She likes witches, and I made her a little witch quilt. I'm going to show the back side of this. You get a bracelet. I thought it would be fun to create something on the back because I like to draw, and I made her little legs with the witch shoes on it, a little fallen witch hat, and I put her name on it and the year that I made it for her. So it turned out really cute.
And it's very fitting for her sister. I guess they're supposed to laugh at that.
Gotta be careful, some of us might know our sister.
Then you know.
This one here, this is an accidental quilt. I found this doggy design on Pinterest, and it was simple. It was made out of 2.5-inch blocks, and I created one, and I got obsessed, and I was like, so I started to make them in every color, and these were all just scraps that I had, so I ended up making a dog in every color, and I even put my dog's names on, Derby and Quincy, and bordered it up with some cute paw prints. I put that in the quilt show last year, the Corning quilt show they had in Corning.
This quilt started off as just a single block. She's like, I just want to see if I can make that. 2 days later, we've got this
Yeah,
on the
I have a
quilt.
little quilt. I kind of got obsessed. Yeah. This is another one. I didn't have any patterns for these. I'm very visual and very creative, and so you got it upside down.
Oh, of course I do. I got one job.
It's kind of a half log cabin. Done. Some of it's batiks. And this isn't a batik in the yellow and the hearts, but the rest of it are all batik colors and just something that I had fun with. Which one next? Okay, this one here, I just completed this one. I started it at retreat at the Penn York camp last Halloween, and thread spools. I got the idea from the So Yeah YouTube channel, and if you all watch YouTube, I'm obsessed with it. And all these.
Is anybody counting how many times she says obsessed?
Well, the thing I say about sewing, it's a passion, it's an addiction, and it's an obsession. So, for me, anyway. Yeah, I love the design on the back because I get this.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
It's one of the great designs in the quilter.
What's that?
Oh, the pattern. I'm doing something with spools, and I was like, oh, I might have to find that pattern.
I don't know if you've got access to a gamma or not, but it's on the pattern cloud.
My thread spools, I actually had a friend give me the charms in there, and they all had like little sewing notions on them, which really made that fun. And when she sent them to me, I was like, I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. I was like, it's going to be thread spools. This one was a panel, and I saw the idea on Pinterest. I seen a panel with horses. So these are all charm packs.
Keep getting into it.
One job. I've been patient. One job.
One job, Jim.
They were all charms and fabrics that I bought from the fabric candy shop. Essentially, I bought the charms from She's So Creative. But that's one of my favorite quilts. Yeah. So we are new Jeep owners. Last fall, we got a new Jeep. And I thought, I gotta make a quilt for my Jeep. So I got this pattern online. It was a free pattern from Moda Fabrics. You got it right side up.
Put arrows on this stuff.
So I wanted to do something in the doggy theme, so these little bones here was the fabric that I had picked up from a rummage sale, and I can't remember her name. She's in Knoxville, Sachs. Rosemary Sachs. Yes, it was a good scrap bag, and they just made the cutest little dog bones. And then of course on the back, I did the letters that say Jeep on it, and Erin from Sheets So Creative had the Jeep fabric. I was there helping her one day, and she had a box that she didn't know what was in it, and she pulled that bolt out, and I got really excited. I was like, oh! So I knew exactly what I was going to do with that fabric.
And now I'm pretty sure anytime Erin gets a Jeep fabric in, she just
And
calls.
Of course, I had to put the quilt in so I could keep it right in my Jeep.
Jeep or goat?
Fun fact, our old Jeep actually went to Erin's husband, Todd.
Yeah. So, this quilt here is very special to me. This one makes me feel validated as a quilter because I entered this in the Corning Quilt Show last year, and I came in second place. It makes me feel I'm good enough. This design came from a Laural Quilt book. It was the Vintage Farm Girl too, and I pieced together all of the little flowers and the truck. It's made of velvet. The hat is made of pleather, and the bee in here, it has a little chenille in it to give it texture, but it is a really prized quilt. I don't even use it.
I'm only allowed to see this during shows.
Well, I mean, my doggies like to get on my quilts. I don't want them to dig it or anything, so I kind of keep it put up. And then, of course, the last one. This is another quilt I started to make for Christmas because we needed a Christmas gift for the family get-together, and I liked it so much I wanted to keep it, so I had to make two. This design came out of the
She
Lord
had
book.
to.
I wanted a Christmas quilt to put on the back of my couch, but this was just one fabric, and it had these white frosted trees in it, and I just trimmed it with green and the candy cane binding. The other one we made, it was a blue truck, and we did the same background, and we did the stitching in snowflakes, and it was in blue, and it was really pretty. So, and your dad and your stepmom actually got that quilt.
I believe you.
Yeah, so a really fun time. So a lot of the other things I have over here are,
D-donks.
yeah, I like to sew fun stuff, so I made each one of my dogs. This was an idea that came from Lisa Pay on YouTube, so I've got my Quincy, my Derby and my Quincy. These are my schnauzers. I like to make birdie pin cushions. I have a teddy bear pattern that I got from Walmart, $5 pattern. These make great gifts for little kids or even adults because they're soft and cuddly. Tissue boxes, I go to a stitch group, and one of the girls there made these tissue box covers. I made these in just every kind of design or theme that you can think of for gifts. Little zip bags. These are fun to make out of small scraps or leftovers. Another YouTube idea that I saw to make a little purse great for a little girl. Cosmetic bags, this one's mine. I kind of made it kind of feminine, fun for a woman. Some more scrap bags that you can take little pieces and put things together. I'm very creative. Pot holders, I kind of got these from the Laural Quilt book. Hand stitched them on my sewing machine, just kind of quilted them down. There's a lot of different designs. Patriotic, little patriotic backs. The watermelon slices and the forks with watermelons on the back. Coasters are another fun thing to make out of small pieces of fabric, scraps. Square coasters work great too. Another thing I like to do are aprons. Aprons are one of my favorite things to make. I have several.
We have 12 aprons in our kitchen, and she never wears one.
Another idea that I just made out of my head, I just draw this out and sewed a towel in there, appliqued some cups, the handle buttons on so you can hang it on your stove. My sister actually gave me this idea. She was telling me about it, and I thought, I think I could make one of those. Our Corning Quilt Guild wanted us to make a selfie block. I don't know if anybody thinks like I do, but I kind of ran with mine. And everything that's about me, I kind of draw it myself and appliqued all the pieces, the shirt, the head, the boots, I incorporated my dog, a sewing machine, pin cushion, scissors, little Jeep, the license plate, and of course I couldn't get it all on the front, so I did the back too. But the quilts, the country farmhouse quilting, the cupcakes I like to bake, the aprons, the dresses, the canning, all that fun stuff that my grandma used to do. The things that got me started. This is a bag that my mom had brought to me when I first started sewing, and it kind of got me inspired when I first started making bags. This was one of my first ones. I kind of put some ruffles on it, make it girly. I can never be plain Jane. This one here, I did some ruching on it. This was just made out of a scrap piece of, well, scrap fabrics, basically. The butterfly fabric came from Florida. But you can kind of see I'm kind of a crafty girl, so I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, here's one more bag. This one I made. My sister wanted a diaper bag, and I kind of come up with this idea to have the pocket and the zip, and then there's some more pockets on the inside. Just I don't do patterns all that much because I have a hard time following them, but unless I study them. But most of the time, if I see something, I can just visualize it and make it and sew it. So I don't know. This is what I do.
That one on the floor in the back, it fell off.
The one on the floor. Oh yeah, I just did that one. This one was at Erin's, and she gave me the pattern for this. And this was actually an easy pattern to follow. And it's just a little box bag, and it's lined, and you quilt it all at the same time. So inside it's got the little polka dot. And instead of my seams showing, I kind of capped them with some fabric and just kind of almost binded it over. So it's got the little D ring on it. And I thought about making these like for a man's traveling bag. I got some man fabric at home, and I thought maybe I'd make my husband one of these for when he goes on his little trips to. You did go to travel, didn't you?
I did.
So I guess, anything else we want to add to?
If they want to see more of what you do, where would they find you?
Yes.
She's real good at that part.
I do my own YouTube channel. It's called Marnie's Country Farmhouse. I try to share all of the things that I'm passionate about sewing. I don't know if I'm a great teacher or anything, but I'm trying to show how I do things and maybe hopefully inspire all of you or anybody out there that, you know, loves to sew as much as I do.
And we also do a showcase quilt series, so when we get some
Yes.
quilts in, and we're doing the long arming, we'll display those up and kind of talk about each quilt, so it's kind of a neat
I
thing.
do love to see what everybody creates when they bring quilts into us to, you know, quilt them for them. I mean, everybody brings in something different, whether you're a beginner or you're an advanced, everybody starts somewhere, so, I mean, it's really exciting to see what everybody makes and, you know, and how their quilt turns out, and we like to try to show off most of what we can to, you know, put them up on my YouTube so it can inspire other people to see, you know, and get them sewing, so.
And a shameless plug, we do average a 3 to 5 day turnaround on a long arm.
Wow.
Yeah, so we try to get them done quickly. I know that's a thing why we wanted to get into the business as well, is a lot of quilters, you know, like the Sew What shop where Angie quilted my very first quilt for me. It took her a while to get it done, so a lot of quilters do get backed up, and, you know, so that kind of inspired us to be quilters and to, you know, you get excited because everybody gets excited. I know I was excited when I got my first one done. You know, we couldn't wait to see it. And she actually called me when she put it on the quilter, and I went and watched her do the first row, you know, because I've never had a quilt.
Oh, wait,
quilted.
no. Angie called her and she looked at me and said, we gotta go. I said, all right, let's go.
I am that excited now.
What's that?
Got the horse reins out, right?
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, he does have to kind of rein me in sometimes, because I am.
Well, I just drove beside her. I mean, she ran the whole way. As I'm sure you can tell, we're kind of a team effort. We do a lot. We spend hours and hours in the sewing room together.
I am very fortunate to have a husband who will stand beside me and push me to do things, and be the best that I could be.
And sometimes it's a gentle push, and sometimes.
I should explain to y'all too that the table that he had built for me, which I don't know why I left this out. When I would cut my fabric, I used to sit on the floor with my rotary mat, my clear ruler, and my rotary cutter, and I would hold it with my foot, and I would, do my cutting on the floor. And he used to watch me, unbeknownst to me. I didn't know he was studying, but he got with our neighbor, and who was a woodworker, and they designed a cutting table for me that is fantastic. I use it every day. And it's actually a cart, and it has a mat in it, and it has like a lift lid on it, and it has a June Taylor
Slide ruler.
yeah, it's a slotted ruler, so I can put my roller. So I put that lid down, and it holds my fabric, and I can put that slotted ruler into the slats, and I can cut each piece precisely on this table. And I don't know how I lived without it.
The self-healing mat lines up directly with the slots on the ruler, so as soon as you drop the tape or the lid down, everything is perfectly lined up, so you can use the
Yeah, so you can measure
mat to do
precisely.
your measuring and then drop
I
it
do
down.
go through a lot of mats. Every
Yeah.
couple of months I have to buy a mat because I do a
it
lot.
cuts the same spot every time.
Yeah, but I use it every day.
But I don't care, I'll buy her mats, because I'm not gonna watch my wife sit on the ground and hold a ruler.
He was
with
always
her
afraid I was
foot.
gonna cut my toes off.
I looked at her the one day and said, "You can't afford to lose any more toes, don't you?"
Oh, yeah, it's great. So I feel very blessed to have this man in my life. He's a blessing.
If we want to see more of your humor, where can we find you?
Me, Todd, and another Todd from someplace else. I don't know where.
Virginia.
We're actually starting a new YouTube channel called Dude Quilts, and so we're gonna kind of do some like dude quilt stuff. Like I built a Jeep cover or a winch cover for our Jeep and stuff like that. So I don't do quilts.
He just programs.
Although I do, we just saw a new technique 2 nights ago at the Corning Quilt Guild. Was it Corning?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to try that, where you just take a piece of fabric and it's basically like appliquing stuff onto the fabric, but
They
it
took
ends
like
up
little
being a full
scraps and
quilt.
things. Yeah,
Ticker
it was
tape.
really pretty and
Ticker
different.
tape quilting.
Yeah, what is it?
Ticker tape.
Ticker
Ticker
quilting.
tape. Yeah.
Except I'm going to take it to a different dimension, because I want to do like 3D boxes and stuff like that, and like maybe something busting through. I don't know. I think it's kind of a neat thing, and it's something I can do on the long arm, and I like running the long arm, so it makes me happy. Has anybody got questions for us? Anything you want to know? Ask away. We're pretty brutally honest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Andrea.